question now, it's Nadine McLeod, and it goes to Team JLP.
Thank you. The head of the Pharmaceutical Society of Jamaica was recently sent home pending an investigation. She was sent home for reiterating the association's cry for government to desist from using pharmacy technicians to dispense drugs at public health facilities. Was it a wrong decision, and should it be revoked?
Now, I have to be very careful with that question, in the sense that you're asking me something about a public civil servant, an issue that is currently being explored and investigated by the necessary agencies. So at this point in time, I think it would be unprofessional and irresponsible of me to actually comment in this manner on something that could impact somebody on such a personal level. And so I will defer the question at this point in time.
A rebuttal from Team PNP.
While they might want to defer the question, I think it speaks to a pattern. There is a member of that panel who recently cancelled a youth conference. It shows a habit of the overreach of the executive and leaving processes that are best dealt with professional bodies such as the Public Services Commission to adjudicate on issues of national development to the whims and fancies or the pendulum swings or mercuric personalities of those in the political classes of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Thank you, Mr. Pryce. Next question now from Ingrid Brown, and it goes to Team PNP.
Jamaica is poorly ranked on Transparency International's corruption index. How would a government formed by your party seriously and genuinely tackle corruption?
Well, that's perhaps the question I'm happiest for this evening. The fall in the ranking of Transparency International, along with the competitiveness index and the foreign direct investments, are actually all we believe on this side an indication, a manifestation of a global community that has lost trust and confidence in the management of the Jamaican economy and the Jamaican society by the Jamaica Labour Party. The issue of restoring transparency goes to the core of the People's National Party's policies, as was evident with the establishment of greater powers for the Office of the Contractor General, the Access to Information Act, and the opening up of the Committees of Parliament to public scrutiny. Look at the result of that opening up when civil society held their feet firmly on the JLP administration to let them proceed with an extradition which they had frustrated for several months.
A rebuttal now from Team JLP.
I believe that Jamaicans must take care in filtering this issue of transparency through PNP lenses. They have really shown no credibility on it. Under the Jamaica Labour Party government, a manifesto promise was made in the 2007 election. Promise made, promise kept. All sessional committees of Parliament are chaired by opposition, and that has opened up all of the inner happenings for others to see. A decrease in the ranking does not necessarily follow that a country has fallen. Other countries may have improved in their standings.
Next question goes to Garfield Burford, and it goes to Team JLP.
As younger members of your party, how differently, if at all, would you have dealt with the Jamaica Development Infrastructure Program, JDIP, especially in the area of whether or not it should have been included in the budget from the first place?
Well, the JDIP project is clearly something that went wrong. There has been issues that went wrong there, and the Prime Minister has recognized such, and that is why he has taken the decisions that he has taken personal responsibility of the portfolio. We have seen that there has been consequences to the actions of some of the persons responsible for the JDIP project. Yes, I agree that maybe it should have been on the, well, actually not maybe, it should have been followed through and pursued with the right budgetary pathways, so to speak. And it is a matter where it is currently under review. We are awaiting what the outcomes will be, and I think what the Prime Minister has indicated is that he will make full transparency of the outcomes of the project.
A rebuttal from Team PNP.
I sit on the Public Accounts Committee, and it's interesting that Dr. Longmore actually has that to say. I want to address something that Marlene said before, however. The recession, the global recession, was in 2008. Since then, 74% of the world's economies have moved on, and they're not complaining about it. We somehow have got stuck. These are instances, particularly the Jamaica Development Infrastructure Program, why it is that we say they cannot manage. If you borrow money at the extent that you're borrowing it, and you're spending it as if it is your own, then somehow something is wrong. And even more egregious is the fact that the Prime Minister was a part of the cabinet when the JDIP was being discussed. So he cannot obfuscate himself from blame at this time.
Next question is Nadine McLeod, and it goes to Team PNP.
The current reduction in crime has been criticized as being short-term and as stemming from the Christopher Douglas Cook extradition. I'd like you to share with us the critical aspects of a plan for real and sustainable reduction in crime should your party form the next government.
I'll take that one. The reduction in crime would be short-lived if the elements of the functional cooperation with our stakeholders, such as the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, were ever to see a reversal. I believe that some of the rhetoric that has come from the platforms of the Jamaica Labour Party is cause for all of us as Jamaicans who love peace in our society to be very careful in assessing their utterances. The issue as well of keeping it sustainably low speaks to opportunities for enterprise and employment for our young people, so that less of our playing fields, for example, will become killing fields, so that the idle hands that criminals and those who will corrupt our young people have access to will be engaged in productive activity, which is part of the centerpiece of the manifesto of the People's National Party and will be how we proceed in the next administration.
Thank you, Mr. Pryce. A rebuttal from Team JLP.
My fellow Jamaicans, the issue of crime is a very complex one, extremely complex, and we are all suffering from it. And we have to be careful that we do not give it that color of PNP or JLP. The reduction that we are experiencing is real, and it has happened under a JLP administration. There are a number of measures that need to be put in place and sustained, but a number of measures have already been put in place, and all Jamaicans must be a part of fighting this problem in order to make the fight sustainable.
Thank you, Mrs. Malahoo Forte. Let's get the next question from Ingrid Brown, and it goes to Team JLP.
Business operators have complained that bureaucracy is stifling business expansion. How do you propose that this can be addressed?
Well, business operators would be quite happy to learn that the government has just simplified the tax reform, the payment of taxes to enable one single document, the SO2, to enable them to file all their statutory declarations using this one form. Other initiatives are being undertaken by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce to enable simpler business registration. And further to this, we must celebrate the fact that 85% of all approvals for building are today delivered under the 90-day limit.
Thank you, Mr. Newby. A rebuttal from Team PNP.
The truth is that businesses in Jamaica today are having it very, very difficult, and a very difficult time moving forward. There's no demand in the sector. There's no productivity in the sector. Electricity costs are high. Businesses are closing. And so what we would do as a People's National Party government is truly diversify our energy base to make sure that businesses can pay electricity bills functionally, properly, and on time. We'd also put in place mechanisms to ensure that they have access to capital, and what we would also do is ensure that our young people have access to capital so that they can start meaningful businesses for economic growth, because let us face it, we will not be able to pay back the IMF or the JDIP money if we have no growth in this economy.
Thank you, Ms. Hanna. Garfield Burford has the next question. It goes to Team PNP.
On the issue of governance, as younger members of your party, how differently, if at all, would you have dealt with the Trafigura matter, especially as it relates to whether or not you would have also gone to court to try to prevent it from being heard in open court?
All right, I'll say two things on that, without relying on the line used by Sapphire to say that because it is currently something under review, I won't speak to it directly. With respect to Trafigura, the People's National Party's understanding of that was it as a political contribution made by a foreign firm. No Jamaican laws were broken in accepting that contribution. However, issues have arisen and they persist today. The course of action before the Jamaican courts must be respected. All Jamaicans are protected under the Constitution. The persons from the People's National Party who are currently appearing before the courts are insisting that their rights be upheld under the Jamaican Constitution. With respect to political contributions, however, our view and the view of the People's National Party going forward is to accept the proposal put forward by civil society and the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. And we wish that the Jamaica Labour Party parliamentarians would agree with that.
From Team JLP.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we mustn't pay lip service to the fight on corruption. A critical part of fighting corruption is transparency. And here is an issue that many Jamaicans still have questions about. Here is an issue that the overseas companies have questions about. I can't see what is there to hide. If transparency is so critical, let us open the case to the public. Let us open it as all the other issues have been opened to the public. We mustn't pay lip service to the fight against corruption.